This is our EWA Minute, and today we welcome Aileen Alexander. And Aileen, I'm so glad that you're with us, and we have lots to ask you. Welcome.
Oh, thanks, Larraine. Thanks for having me.
First of all, would you tell us a little bit about your military and governmental background? Because I think that will set the stage for what we want to speak about after. Go ahead.
Sure, happy to do that. And before I dive in, I just want to take a second to acknowledge all our first responders, those healthcare professionals, the men and women that are on the front lines doing what they do, as well as their families making sacrifices right now in real time. And to those in our network, Larraine, whom we know are very actively engaged. In terms of my background, I started my career serving in the U.S. Army. I was an officer. I spent about 4 years on active duty, serving what's called the Signal Corps. I was on active duty for 9/11, and I reflect on that experience as just an incredible foundation for me to not only build upon, but leverage throughout my career. After graduate school, I went to Washington, D.C., and spent a few years working in national security and defense, spending time in the Pentagon, in the Office of the Secretary of Defense, as well as on Capitol Hill on the House Armed Services Committee.
Fantastic. And you were actually in the Signal Corps, is that correct?
That's right. We were the IT division, putting in the voice and the data networks for our men and women.
And you were a platoon commander, as I recall. Is that right?
Yes, the Army has a way of training you and giving you opportunities for many roles. So I started out as a platoon leader, as a second lieutenant, and then took on other responsibilities. At the end of my career with the Army, I was managing logistics for our battalion.
Fantastic. So, Aileen, you were trained for the kind of situation that we're going through now, weren't you? Tell us a little bit about that.
I mean, this situation we're in now is so new and different. It comes around every 100 years, but I think that the training that we got early on really instilled a few fundamental things. One is to expect the unexpected and to lean on your teammates when you're dealing with really uncertainty and at times unpredictability.
Yeah, that's so important, especially now when your teammates are remote and you can't even hug them or touch them or follow them. You have to really be in a position of trust. So when you left the military, you went into the private sector and you're now with Korn Ferry. Could you speak a little bit about what your position is there?
Yes, I'm a managing partner here at Korn Ferry. I've been with the company just over 8 years. I've had the opportunity to rise the ranks, and today I wear a couple of different hats. I focus on our clients and our business portfolio within technology, as well as co-lead our cybersecurity practice. In addition to that, I also lead our Philadelphia office.
Fantastic. So now let's talk about the real essence of what we're dealing with today in our moment of tremendous crisis in our country and our world. What would you say the military training has done for you that is helping you become such an outstanding leader, both in Korn Ferry as well as in your community?
Well, I think there's a few things that I've learned directly, also that I gained in terms of being around some tremendous leaders, whether they were military or civilian, whether it was here in the U.S. or quite candidly with our allies around the world from a global perspective. I think there's a few different things from a leadership perspective that I was able to gain and that I'm applying today. The first is to have a shift in mindset. We're in unknown territory, and once you accept that change, it means you need to think about your priorities, your strategic priorities in a new and different way, and you need to adapt in how you work, how you foster and continue to bring your community together, and also how you instill a continuous culture. So really that shift in mindset. I think as leaders, it's also important that we adapt how we lead, how we team, how we operate. I've seen this throughout our company. I'm seeing it with others in my broader network. But leaders more than ever need to be visible. They need to lead from the front. They need to set the tone for their organizations, for their companies. We talk a lot about communications and the importance of the frequency of communicating, but being clear, being candid, being transparent is more important than ever. I think another piece around how you adapt is a motto I learned early in the Army, and quite candidly, I endorsed it as a lieutenant. But I don't think I'm alone on this front. But is a people first, mission always mentality. Focus on your colleagues, focus on your teammates, focus on your clients and your customers. Meet them with empathy, and if you do that, the mission or the business will continue to sustain as you adapt. I think there are two other things that those of us who served learn is to see the big picture. It's quite easily to look at the world from your vantage point or from I used to say through a straw, but more important than ever is really stepping back and taking a panoramic view of what's happening. To look forward, not only look in the rearview mirror. We don't have time from that. And in seeing the big picture is having a lot of self-awareness and being comfortable with what you don't know and relying on all your colleagues, from those in the field to the front lines, as well as those that are at the headquarters, so to speak. It's important that you connect all those dots, get the facts, and collect those inputs. And the last thing that we did, not just from an operational perspective, but strategically, is a term called unity of effort. We're in this together. It's not about command and control, but it is about breaking down silos, collaborating, learning from one another, and being focused together on a common purpose. And I think you could apply that internally to your organization. But Larraine, to your point, when we think about all of our communities and that intersection of public, private, and our not-for-profit, we really need to have a common sense of purpose and unity of effort in those endeavors.
Wow, that's beautiful. That really is. You know, you said something in one of our network get-togethers, because we do have first responders and we have physicians who are in the ICU, as well as commanders of police departments, FBI, and so on, as well as business leaders. You said something that I think is amazingly intuitive, and that is every leader needs a break. Mm-hmm. And that I know that a lot of our network have said, you are so right, and I never thought of myself as needing a break. Could you just give us a few thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a lesson that I learned from a woman whom I served with early on in my Army days. You know, I thought I guess to a certain degree, and maybe this speaks to ego, but that you could be superwoman, that you could go in constant motion. But when you do that, you start to break down. You might not think as clearly. You might not lead as effectively, and be able to adapt as quickly as you need to. And so we're human. We need to take breaks. We need to, at times, walk away, seek clarity, find whether it's your family members, your friends, your community, an EWA sister, so to speak, who you can lean on and lean in. It's really important for all leaders to focus on that and not burn themselves out. We're in this for a bit of time.
Yeah, that's so true. And you, of course, having this amazing leadership role at Korn Ferry, also are a mother of twin girls and have a marvelous husband. And so you have many roles now that are challenging and all sort of converging in the same environment. Couple of thoughts on that and how you're managing being all of those roles at the same time.
You know, well, I'm doing the best I can. I've got an incredible teammate and partner in my husband, as you know. My father early on said something to me, which is, as you're juggling a bunch of balls in the air, just remember some of them are made of glass, some are made of rubber. If you drop one, made of rubber, it'll bounce back. But those made of glass, obviously could break. And I think about those different hats and how you need to prioritize, how you have to be humble and ask for help, and how you have to be honest, and be honest with your family, your friends, your colleagues, your bosses. And I think that honesty is more important than ever, and not operating, what I'll say is with ego, that you can do it all.
Well, you are an amazing leader, and we're so proud to have you as one of our EWA Women, Exceptional Women Awardees indeed.